Hello juniors, today we're going to see electronic assignment number 7, which is about measures of central tendency. The objectives for today's class are 3. First, identify statistical measures and their interpretations. Number 2, group data, use of mid-interval values for calculations, interval width, upper and lower interval boundaries, and modal class. Finally, we're going to see how to apply measures of central tendency to a given data. And we're going to see specifically 3 types of measures of central tendency, which are mean, median, and mode. So, the 3 most common measures of central tendency are, as I told you, mean, median, and mode, right? So we're going to see each of this in order for you to remember how to work with each of this, right? So, the mode is the value that occurs most frequently basically, right? There's a hint over here that says there can be more than one mode if 2 or more values occur most often. If no number occurs more than once in the set, then there is no mode. So that's just to consider. So in this example, find the mode of 4, 7, 3, 3, 1, 2, 7, 5, 7, 11. Basically, what we need to do is see which of these numbers repeat the most, right? There's no need to organize this information. If you want to have a clearer look, or maybe to make sure that you're doing the exercise correctly, you may organize this if you want, but you don't really need to, right? Here we can see that 4 appears 1 time, 7 appears 3 times, the 3 appears 2 times, 1 appears once, the 2 once as well, 5 only once, and 11 only once. So the mode is definitely 7, right? Which is the one that repeats the most. So we're going to say that the mode is directly 7. And that's it, right? Very simple. Let's move on then to the following example. It says, a group of students were surveyed to find out how many hats each of them owned. The data is displayed in the following frequency table. Find the modal number of hats. Okay, so now we're asked to find the mode, but given a frequency table. Whenever we're given a frequency table, it's even easier, right? Because the mode will be the number of hats, in this case, that occurs most frequently, or the one that has the greatest frequency. So basically, the mode in this case would be 1, right? So the mode is directly 1. Why? Because it's the one that repeats more frequently. Now, pay attention at some common mistakes for this example. It says, one error, some students say that the mode is 7, and this is false because we don't look at this number for the mode, or actually we look at the number to define the mode, but the mode will never be a frequency, right? We always have to relate it to our original variable, right? So this is not the case because 7 is the frequency of the modal number of the hats, which is 1 hat. And another common mistake is the mode is 3. That is, you see that 3 is the one that repeats the most here, but that's frequency, right? We don't look at that in order to define the mode, right? So this is not the case. 3 is the most common frequency for 0 hats, 2 hats, and 3 hats. They all have a frequency of 3, but the mode is the number of hats with the greatest frequency, right? So that's something to pay attention for. So the mode is 1 for this example. Now, another way of presenting mode. Look at this example. It says that this table shows the ages of students who exercise in gym after school. Find the modal age, right? Whenever we're given a variable as an interval, like here, finding the mode is the same thing, right? The mode in this case would be from 16 to 17, right? Because it's the modal group that repeats the most. But the only thing that changes is that now we change the name. Instead of calling mode, we're going to call it modal group or modal age in this particular case because the variable is age. So we just say that the modal age would be from 16 to 17 inclusive, right? One very important thing here, we need to write, whenever we're asked the modal group or modal age, we need to write the whole thing, right? The whole interval. It's a mistake to write, for example, the mid value, which would be 16.5. If you write that the mode is 16.5, that would be wrong. We need to write the whole group here, okay? So pay attention at that detail. Here we have a hint. It says a set of data is binomial if it has 2 modes. If all the numbers in a list appear only once, there is no mode. Okay, for you to consider. So let's move on then to the next tool to measure the center of data, which is mean, which is the average value of a dataset. Different symbols are used to represent the mean, such as mu or mean, right? X with a bar on top. So how do we calculate the mean? Basically, it's the sum of data values divided by the number of data values, right? If you take a look at the formula booklet, you would see it this way, which basically represents that the mean is equal to the sum of the product of frequency times each of the elements in our variables, right? Each of our variables divided by the total number of frequency, which represents the total number of data values, right? So this top part basically means sum of data values, and the bottom part represents the number of data values. So this is how you will see it in the formula booklet, just to consider. Okay, so let's see an example, and I'm going to be showing you how to find the mean using calculator as well. I'm going to show you how to find all of them, mode, mean, and median, using the calculator. So this table shows the ages in years of 10 pet cats, right? So we have age given as intervals and frequency, right? So find an estimate of the mean age of the cats. If we want to do this by hand without using calculator, first of all, remember the process. The first thing is, as we're given intervals, we need to find the mid-interval values, right? So we're going to build a column here for mid-interval value. Mid-interval value. I'll put it like this. And the mid-interval value is basically the average between these values. Like 0 plus 2 divided by 2, that's 1. 2 plus 4 divided by 2, that's 3, and so on, right? It's basically the value in the middle. So this is 7. Once we find the mid-interval value, the next step is to multiply the mid-interval value times the frequency, right? In order to have this part of our formula, basically. I'm going to call this, if I call this xi in parentheses, like this would be, I can call this fi. So the next step would be multiplying fi times xi, right? Frequency times each number. So 2 times 1, that's 2. 4 times 3 is 12, then this is 15, and finally 7, right? The next step, remember, if we look at the formula, is we need to add up all of this column over here in order to get this top part of the equation, of the formula. So if I add up all of this, I would find that the sum is equal to 2 plus 12 plus 15 plus 7, that is 29 plus 7, 36. 36 would be the sum, which would be the top part over here, right? Then, in order to finish calculating the mean, I need to sum all of the frequency, right? Here we already have in the title of the exercise the total amount of data I have, but if I want to make sure, I can add up all of this column over here. 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 3 is 9, and plus 1 is 10, right? So finally, the mean would be equal to, the mean is equal to 36 divided by 10, which is equal to 3.6. So the average age of cats is 3.6 years. Let me write that here. The average age of cats is 3.6 years, which is a valid number, right? Remember that time is continuous data. So we can have 3.6 years. That would be around July, right? 3 years, and then July is kind of 3.6, right? Super. So let me show you how to do this using your calculators. If you take a look at the calculator right now, we're going to go to menu statistics again, right? We're always working with statistics for this part. I'm going to erase all of this here and here. And what we're going to plug into our calculator on list 1, the first column, we're going to plug in the mid intervals. Remember that we're given a set of data as intervals. We need to plug in the mid interval values, right? So that's what I'm going to put: 1, 3, 5, and 7. And on list 2, I'm going to put the frequency for each mid interval, right? So this would be 2, 4, 3, and 1. Once you have done this, you will now go to calc, right? Remember from the previous classes we pressed on graph. Now we're going to click on calc because we want to find some calculations. So you click on F2, and here you have 1 var, which is univariate analysis, 2 var, which is bivariate analysis, which we're going to see later on, and that's it, right? So before you actually click on 1 var, which is what we're going to do today, click on set, just to make sure that the setting is correct. You see that here it says 1 var x list. Where are you going to read your x variable? In list 1, right? But here, 1 var frequency, where are we going to read our frequency? We should actually read this in list 2, right? So you need to click on F2 and define list number 2, right? So you click on 2 and execute, and then this is correct, okay? We're not going to be looking at this bottom part for now because this is for 2 variables. We're now working with 1 variable only. So you should make sure that this says list 1 here and list 2 down here. If you already have that, you go to exit, and now you click on 1 var, which is F1. And you see, you have all of the statistical measures here. We have the mean, which is 3.6, which is exactly the same value we got in the exercise. And if you scroll down, you see tons of information. For example, the standard deviation, you have it here. Or the number of data, which is 10, right? And if you scroll down, you see that you even have the minimum value, you have Q1, you have the median. You see the median is 3. We have the upper quartile, we have the maximum value, and we also have the mode. The mode in this case is 3, right? You see that the calculator here puts a value, right? But if we want to write the mode of our example, our mode should be a group, a modal group, right? Which is from 2 to 4. But the calculator obviously would just write the mid-interval because that's the information we plugged in the calculator, right? The calculator doesn't know that this corresponds to a modal group. And that's it, right? So you can see all of the different statistical measures in this menu, okay? So that's basically how you work with this using the calculator. If we go back to the assignment, you have the instructions here. The same thing I just explained is rewritten here in case you want to follow this later on, okay? There's an interesting TOK question here for you to read and think a little bit about. It says, what are the benefits of sharing and analyzing data from different countries? So just for you to think a little bit about this. Let's move on then to our, there's another example for mean before we actually move on to median. It says, Will has scored 85, 93, 92, and 84 on the first 4 mathematic tests of the term. Find the score that Will must get on the last test to finish with an average of 90%. Remember that average is a synonym for mean, okay? If you see average, you should automatically think about mean. So we're given the mean right now. We already know that the mean is equal to 90, right? So we need to find what score Will should get in the 5th test in order to get a mean of 90, right? So basically, the formula that we're going to be using is, let me bring this down, this one over here, right? The concept of a mean. We're going to be using this. So let's go down, and we're going to put it here. There we go. So, 90 is our mean, and that should be equal to the sum of all my scores, 85 plus 93 plus 92 plus 84 plus x, right? Because we want to know how much he needs to score in the 5th test, divided by the number of data values, which in this case is 5, right? So there you have. Now we need to solve this. 90 times 5, that's 450. Then if we add up all of this, we should get, let me see, that would be 85 plus 93 plus 92 plus 84. it's 354, right? So this is 354 plus x. Finally, to solve for x, we're going to take the 354, subtracting to the other side, and we get 96. So basically, Will must score 96% or 96 on the last test, right? So we can write that as a final answer. Will must score 96 on the last test. There you go. So this is the answer for this case. We can write percent if we want to write a unit of measurement, but that's fine for now. Okay, super. Let's move on then to our last measure of central tendency, which is median. It says the median is the middle data value when the data values are arranged in order of size. If the number of values in a data set is even, then the median is the mean of the two middle numbers. So that's the rule you need to remember, right? Let's see an easy example about this. We're given this data set right here. So the first thing to find the median is we need to organize our information from in ascending order, right? From least to greatest. So if we do that, we're going to have 1, 2, 4, 7. Then we have 9, 10. I think there's no repeated value here. Then 11, 12, 16, 17, and 18. No, there's no repeated value here. So let me check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes. I haven't forgotten any value. Right. So once we have all the information organized in ascending order, the median corresponds to the value which is in the middle, right? In this case, as we have 11 pieces of data, it's easy, right? Because it will be the value in exactly the middle, right? We could use here a color for organization. This one goes with this, then this with this, and this with this, this with this, this with this. So finally, our median would be this value over here, the one that is left in the middle, right? So the median in this case is 10. And that's it. Another TOK question here for you to reflect. Do different measures of central tendency express different properties of data? How reliable are mathematical measures? So this definitely is a yes, right? Remember we did the experiment in our first class where I supposed some exaggerated values, and we could see that we got very different results for mean and median and mode, right? So that definitely are the different statistical measures definitely tells us different things about our data set, right? If the mean is very different from the median, maybe that means that we have an outlier, right? So definitely tells us things or properties about our data. Great. Then it says, if there are a lot of numbers and it is difficult to find the middle member, we can use a formula for the median equals n plus 1 divided by 2 to find the position of the median, right? Where n is the number of data values in a set. Let's see this with an example later on. Hint, common error. This formula does not give the value of the median. It gives the position of the median in the data set. So remember that, people. Do not assume that is a median. That's the position of the median. Okay, so here we have another example. This table shows the ages of students who exercise in the gym after school. Find the median age. So, how do we find the median when we're given information in this way, right? In order to find the median, what I will have to do is, first of all, I need to know how many pieces of data I have. For that, I would have to find a cumulative frequency. So let me write here a column, cumulative frequency. There's a bird here bothering. So cumulative frequency, remember we need to add up the frequency. So this is 2, this would be 8, then this would be 16, then 26, and finally 29. I don't know if I made a mistake here. 2, 8, 16, 16 plus 10, 26, and 29. I think it's fine. Okay, so that means that we have 29 pieces of information in our data set, right? So to find the median, let me write this here. Position of median would be, according to this formula, n plus 1. So 29 plus 1 divided by 2. 29 plus 1 divided by 2, that's 30 divided by 2, which is 15. That means that the position of the median is at position 15, looking at our cumulative frequency, right? So 15 is greater than 2, so definitely not in the first class. 8 is smaller than 15, so definitely not in the second class. And then we have 16, right? 15, and write 15 here, is right before 16. That means that our median is inside this class over here, okay? So, in conclusion, we would say that the median, or the median age, is that class over there, that group, which is from 15 to 16. Just as the mode, when we have intervals, we cannot write this. We cannot say that the median is 15.5, right? We need to write the whole group whenever we have the information or the data set given as intervals, okay? So that's just for you to consider when you see these types of exercises. That's how you find a median given a frequency table, basically. Okay, we're gonna move on to this investigation in order to see how changes or constant changes may affect the mean, median, and mode, okay? So it says, what will happen to the measures of central tendency if we add the same amount to all data values or multiply each data value by the same amount? Copy and complete this table. You should use your GDC to calculate the mean, mode, and median each time. So we have this data set over here. Let me show you how to work with the calculator once again. But now having this type of data given, not as a frequency table, but just like it is, right? So if you take a look at the calculator, we're going to go back and we're going to erase all of this information we had before. And now what we're going to do is, we're not going to organize any of this. Actually, it's already organized, but I'm going to show you a different way. We're just going to plug in the information as it is, right? As you see it, without touching anything, right? So 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 14, 14, 15, 16, and 20. This will work even if the information is not organized. You can just plug it in as it is, right? And for list 2, we're not going to plug in any information, right? Because we are just putting all the data as it is, right? So before going to 1var to calculate mean, mode, and median, we're going to go to set again, right? But now, since we didn't charge any information in list 2, which is the second column, we're just going to leave this list 2 over here as 1. By doing this, we're telling the information that all of the data that is in list 1, in the first column, will be automatically assigned a frequency of 1, okay? That's what we're telling the calculator by putting this 1 over here. So, let's go back, and now we're going to click on 1var. So here we have all of the statistical information, right? The mean is 12.2. I'm going to complete that in the assignment. Then we have the mode. I'm going to scroll down to the end for the mode, which is 14. You see that the only number that repeats is 14, so that's the mode. And the median, you see it up there, it says 13, right? If we find the median by hand, we will see that it's 13. Okay, so that's it, right? Then, for the second case, it says add 4 to each piece of data in the set, right? So we can add 4 to each piece of data. So instead of 6, we're going to have 10. Then this would be 11, then 12, 14, 16, 18, then 18, 19, 20, and 24. So what would happen to our information if all of the pieces of data are added by 4? I'm going to change again here the data for our new information, which is 10, 11, 12, 14, 16, 18, 18, 19, 20, 24. And we know that our setting is already fine, so we're just going to click on one var. Now, our new min is 16.2. Our mode, if we scroll down, our mode is 18. And our median is 17. So what do you notice? You see that all of these statistical measures also increased by 4, right? So that's our first property here. Now, then it says, multiply each piece of data in the original data set by 2. So we're going to multiply each of this by 2 and see what happens. So this would be 12, 14, 16, 20, 24, 28, 28, 30, 32, and finally 40, okay? So I'm gonna again change this information in our calculators. Let me erase all of this and then plug in the new information. 12, 14, 16, 20, 24, 28, 28, 30, 32, and 40. So we go to one var again, and now we write our new information. The new min is 24.4. The mode is 28. And the median is 26 according to our calculator. So what do you notice with this compared to this? You again see that what happened is that all of the statistical measures just got multiplied by 2, right? So then it says, now copy and complete the following sentences to explain what happens to the mean, mode, and median of the original data set. So A, if you add 4 to each data value, we say that mean, mode, and median increase by 4. Increase by 4, basically, right? And for B, if you multiply each data value by 2, mean, mode, and median are multiplied by 2. By 2. Okay, later on when we get into measures of dispersion, you would see that these situations get a little bit different than what we had here. It's not necessarily the same as what we're doing right here. So finally, to finish, we have this table here where we compare each of the statistical measures. We're going to read this through quickly. Mode, for example. The mode tells you the most frequently occurring value in a dataset. Advantages, extreme values do not affect the mode. Another advantage here, I would say, is it's very easy and quick to calculate, right? But the disadvantages, you see that there are many here. Does not use all members of the dataset, not necessarily unique, maybe more than one answer. When no values repeat in the dataset, the mode is every value and is useless. And finally, when there is more than one mode, it is difficult to interpret and or compare. Mean. The mean is a sum of all data values divided by the number of values in the set. Advantages. Most popular measures of average in fields such as business, engineering, and computer science. Uses all members of the dataset. It is unique. A data set has only one mean. And finally, it's useful when comparing sets of data. Now, the disadvantage, and this is the principal disadvantage, it is affected by extreme values, as we have seen in an example at the beginning of the year. Finally, the median describes the middle of the set of data. Advantages, extreme values do not affect the median as strongly as they do to the mean. Useful when comparing sets of data. It is unique. A data set has only one median. As the median is in the middle value, 50% of the data is either side of it. And the disadvantages does not take into account every value in the dataset and less use in further calculations. So that's basically the summary of this electronic assignment that we have seen today. These are all the 3 measures of central tendency. I hope this was clear for you juniors. If not, please let me know. We're going to clear doubts in future live sessions. Thank you for your attention and see you.